replacing the quarter panel doesn't mean that you're actually replacing it just for rust repair, but that in the long run it would be better to go ahead and replace the quarter panel due to body damage, and that's what we're going to do on this car. Now, of course, it does have rust down here, and I could have bought a little quarter section here for the quarter panel, a little patch panel that you can buy, and I could have replaced that. But what we have is we got some really bad damage over here, and I'm going to get a close-up look at that. And then as we come down here, all this area right here is crushed in all the way to this area here. Now this car, this particular car is a 65 GTO, Pontiac GTO. It was actually a Le Mans. The owner is converting it over to be a GTO, and it's a convertible. And the issue that you have on this particular car and other cars of this era is that the quarter panels are like 7 feet long, 7 or 8 feet long. And they're not just that long, they're flat panels. That means they don't have no curves in them. They're just a big giant flat panel with a couple little body lines. And to do all this body work on this, it would take approximately 1 gallon to 2 gallons of Bondo, putting it on, taking it off, putting it on, taking it off. Even if you hammer and dolly all this out, what would happen from being so long, it would stretch the metal out, it would tin can the metal, and what tin can means is when you push in on it, it pops out. Push in, pop out, push in, pop out. Kind of like this dent right here. All the holes that we're going to be looking at here are holes back from the 70s, early 80s, possibly late 60s, where they pulled this dent out. It's pretty obvious the car got hit right here at one time. And then they pulled all this out using a slide hammer dent puller, and then they filled it all in with Bondo. But another thing about the GTO car, and this doesn't apply just to the 65, but the 66 and 7 as well, is that the inside of the floor pretty much butts right up next to this quarter panel section here, the outer skin. And by them doing that, what happens and what causes all the rust that you're looking at is that deterioration, debris, dirt, dust, and leaves and trash get down inside that gap, and then they stay here. And there is drain holes on this quarter panel, and I'm going to show you those once we get all this taken off. But those drain holes get plugged up, and what happens is moisture in the air, it doesn't really have to rain, just the moisture in the air will get down inside here and keep this soppy wet all the time, because there's no way that this can breathe. Now, the quarter panel that we're going to replace is a universal quarter panel. That means it is for this car and several other cars. They don't specifically make a quarter panel for a 1965 GTO, and they definitely don't make a full quarter panel that rolls up into the Dutchman panel of the vehicle. So if I bring this over here, I'm going to kind of hook it up here so we can kind of get a gander at it. You can basically see what's going on. This panel is not designed to replace the whole panel. This is a patch panel only. That means if I got rust in this area right here, I am going to cut this section out and replace only that. If I have giant dents over here and it's all wobbled and beat to shit in this area and this is rusted out, then I'm only going to replace it to here. Another thing I want you to notice is I am fitting this quarter panel over the old quarter panel. That's telling me that this quarter panel section is actually larger in size than the quarter panel underneath the panel that I'm holding up here. Because this actually fits on here perfect, just like it sits. Is it sitting? Yes, it is. So I can actually let go of that, and that thing fits on there like a glove. That's telling me that this quarter panel section, once again, is larger in diameter on all four corners sides than it should be for what we really need to do. So we really need to watch that as we are replacing quarter panels, especially using aftermarket parts. I've actually seen cars that's come through my shop where people will actually take these quarter panels just like you see, and they will weld them onto the whole quarter panel and be done with it. Now, I had a 1969 Mustang Mach 1 here that I bought the parts to replace both quarter panels. You can get on my website and look at that at previous projects. And the quarter panel that I used, it was actually 2 inches too long. So I literally had to cut it here, take 2 inches out, and then go back in to make everything line up. And I have a serious feeling that by the time we get this thing fit on here and actually start using it, we're going to have to do some jerry-rigging operations to get it to work properly. So this was just a little note of explanation on replacing panels like this right here. I suggest that when you decide to actually jump in and restore your car, or maybe fix the car that you're driving or whatever you're doing, sit around, contemplate on it, look at it, do your measurements, and always take your time. Because taking your time is the most important thing you can do. Kind of like this hairdo I got going. I'm trying to grow my sides of my hair out so it'll go back into my ponytail, and I've been doing that for about 3 or 4 months. And it's taken time. It's taken time to get there. But so let me get all this laid out how I'm going to do it. And I think the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off all that excess shit over there that I'm not going to use. And then we're going to go from there. I don't know if I'm going to cut this right here and then butt weld it onto the vehicle. That's a possibility. Or we might take this whole section here and come out here, cut all these spot welds off, then come back up and around. We really don't know, because doing quarter panels like this is a jigsaw puzzle. And you have to have patience in everything you do, because if you don't, then you're the one that's going to be a fucking loser, not your neighbor. Well, after cutting the main section out of the original quarter panel, as you can see that I did, using my air chisel, look what we found. Just as my friend Pete expected, dirt, debris, and trash. And that is what causes rot and rust on these old classic cars, such as this one right here. You're going to see where I take that off. Let's go ahead and get that off of there. Look at this. Wow. That is some nasty, nasty shit. Now, the owner was speculating that the trunk extension, floor pan trunk extension, was going to be good. I'm going to grind that down and double check it, but my speculations are that this is going to be rotted out as well. Maybe not, but it looks like somebody tried to jack it up on the corner there and crushed in the extension, and you can see where it's rusted out as well. So I'm going to say that this is not any good, and the owner is going to have to buy some new trunk floor extensions. And even when we look over here at the right hand side quarter panel section, you can see that's rotted out too. Now this quarter panel here is in really good shape. The only thing that we're going to replace on this quarter panel is this lower section, and possibly we're going to have to replace that inner trunk floor extension as well. Alright, it's been about 2 weeks since we've worked on our 65 GTO quarter panel, and once again I'm showing you another example of how to actually replace these classic car quarter panels. We saw what happened. We took the whole quarter panel, we put it on top of this quarter panel, and it basically sat right on top of it. That should tell you right there that it's not made to replace the whole thing. But anyway, so this has been sitting in the same spot here. What I got in my hands These are called trunk floor extensions. Now, these ones here, they cost $79 each. They're for 64, 65 Pontiac Le Mans GTOs, and people were telling me that those are expensive. Now I heard that this company is the only company that makes these. I don't know, I haven't really investigated it. I found them, I got them, and here they are. But I was really worried about this end right here. If you look at that right there, I was actually really worried about that because I didn't know if it was going to come with that or not, and if it didn't come with that, I was going to have to make it. Another thing I'm worried about is that these things are actually going to fit on there really well. Now, these are also made in America. They're not made in Taiwan. The company that sells them, or should I say the company that makes them, is based right here in America, so they must have their own stamp or what have you. But $79 each for these things. And what we're going to do, I got the left and the right because I already know the other side's rusted, and I'm telling you now, it's going to be rotted. We got to replace the lower section on that side, and I'm not going to have, I don't want to wait around another 2 weeks. You kind of get the idea of why this takes so long. Here's a good example. It took me 2 weeks to get these pieces, and so this car's been sitting here for 2 weeks doing nothing. I didn't want to cut the other side off because I was waiting on that section to get here. I finally got that the other day. But now you're getting the idea why it takes so long to restore these old cars. Waiting on parts is one of the main factors. So let's go ahead. I just got this held on with a pair of vice grips. We're going to go ahead and take it off. And this is basically the cut. This is the final cut on this. This is what I'm going to use to replace. What we'll do is we'll trim up our car. We'll trim this out to fit this. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our quarter panel extension and we're going to go ahead and set it on here. And I'm hoping, and you can see, that this doesn't really fit that well. So we're going to have to do some modifications to it to actually make it work. Hold on a second. Do I have the right extension on the right side? It's got to be. Okay, well it doesn't go like that. And it could go like this. That's how it goes. No, it doesn't go like that. No, it doesn't. We got to figure out how these things go. And now you see why one reason we don't throw anything away until the job is done. Okay, this one actually does go right here. It goes just like that, but now we're going to have to do some modification to these to make these things actually fit in here, because these are not fitting like they're supposed to. Aftermarket ship, $80 by the way. Tell you what, these wow. I'm a little bit speechless over the situation because these are really something else. So let me get one of these modified and see where we're going to take this action, because this is not what I was expecting.